continuation of last night, today's shit was about the American moment.
Okay. Can you bring me up to speed a little bit as we talk about that?
Yeah, so
I apologize. I was out. I was sleeping since a little bit earlier.
the American moment is one of the many. Oh, Pat, please ask your question. Pat has a question before we start, so I'm all ears for for this. All ears. So, oh, okay. So Pat has a question. So
Hey, Elaine. Hello.
yes,
CP.
Elaine, the mean, angry feminist person. um. So yeah. So while we're waiting for Pat to get her question out,
hmm
the American Moment is one of the 9 organizations of Rockbridge,
Okay.
and there's some people who are mentioned in its capacity that I've never heard of before, but I have revenue and expense numbers for how much they spend, where they spend it, um,
hmm
and some other data, where the headquarters is, who's on the board of directors, um, even their mission statement. What exactly is happening on September 3rd? Is there an event on September 3rd?
I'm changing locations, so just give me a moment.
Um, I mean, the only thing that I'm aware of that's happening on the 3rd is that Trump um, will either be in China or the Polish president will be in the U.S., namely the White House, um, on the 3rd of September. If there is a protest array, I haven't read anything. Um,
End of comments for the.
the VA changes.
Huh.
Uh, oh, the Epstein survivors testified that day.
Mm.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Yeah, that's gonna be bizarre and interesting. Um, well, yeah, nationwide protests on Labor Day um would be interesting. Lisa, is your internet stable enough to participate in this discussion, or am I going to have to pick on a random person? Um, okay. I haven't. I have been pretty much staying outside of the purview of what's going on with the Epstein shit because um,
Nick Perro and Ellie are kind of covering a lot of that.
yeah, Nick and
Ellie Leonard.
yeah, Ellie. Which, by the way, you still doing lives with her?
Yeah. We've got probably something later this week, but she's ramping up on the banner and backbone more. So I think long term that's probably all along. I mean, there never was. This was always kind of ad hoc in the ones that we did. So I think the long term has been to do it under the frame of the banner and backbone folks, and then what I'm doing with respect to them in turn is I'm trying to get Nick and the founders together for a live interview because I'd like to jump in. I have a bunch of questions. I've read their stuff now, and I've got some familiarity with it. So I'd like to get into the whys and wherefores of what they're doing. So hopefully this week we can get some time set up for that. I'll let you know as soon as I do. Um, but yeah, them, and I'm also working on a couple of protest groups, like and of course right now my brain just goes blank at unwelcome moments. But a couple of these groups that are doing like the resist fascism, excuse me, group, and a couple of others to get some of their founding members or some of their comms people, if they've got communications folks, to do interviews and lives on Substack as well. Trying to move into more of that area because I find that personally interests me, a lot. And one of the things that I think ties in with what you're talking about and what we've been talking about. Hey there, Lisa. And what we've been talking about is the idea that you know it it takes it takes organization is the basic idea, right? If we don't have organizers willing to put things together and kind of gradually like attach to each other to become to scale better, then we'll be kind of forever thrashing, I think, as a bunch of progressives who want to do the right thing but don't have
Right.
kind of center point for it, a hub to make things work. So
Well, I mean, we can talk about the nature of um, how to start a revolution and how to finish it.
yeah,
Um, because as a gray hat, that's something I understand.
hmm
Well,
and what I'm mindful of, I think you're on the point there. The thing I'm trying to be mindful of as we do this is the protests themselves are there needs to be a decision process that happens because as like we found out with watching Pritzker yesterday just beat the crap out of Donald Trump on air. I thought that man did a brilliant job of delivering a "don't you fucking dare."
I love Pritzker.
Yeah, I do too. And Hyatt, he's part of the Hyatt family. In case you don't know, he comes from that lineage of hotels and resorts. And the message that he's giving is radically different in comparison. Actually, I don't know how wide my screen is in this moment, but radically different over here. If this is him, then you talk about the mayor of Baltimore and the way he's playing the game, which is, sure, you guys can come on in and help us out as long as you give us some money back for our crime reduction programs that you cut. And as long as you have your DEA agents, your FBI agents working in the jobs they're supposed to be assigned to, that's A-okay. And he's a younger guy, so I'm not really sure he realizes what level of ball game he's playing in Baltimore there. But I fear that, and I mentioned in my article, I fear that he's potentially in over his head because that strategy doesn't necessarily with Trump compute. It is it he's not going to give any money back. He wants military presence on the streets. That the imagery is the imagery is the point. The cruelty is the point, right? So that's the when I get back to that decision tree, and I was sort of rambling about what I meant was there's a protest stage and then there's what's next. And I think that's what I'm interested in really digging down with people and saying, okay, at what point does peaceful protest no longer work? And if we're going to do something, what does that something look like? because it better not be something like, oh, we're all going to go, grab our gun cases, unlock them, and haul my spare Glock out onto my front porch. That's not going to. We are literally bait for drones. There's zero effort that needs to go into taking us out if they want to. So we have to be really smart. And plus, I don't want to get tangled up in some damn sedition charges or something like that gets me into tons and tons of trouble. So, uh,
Well, I hate to say this, but beyond the element of protest. Oh, which by the way, um, there were a couple of points that I wanted to get out before I comment on that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
One, Trump trying to fire the Fed governor.
Lisa Cook, yeah.
Um, so, uh, um, I didn't get out of the stream whether or not um, a court has decided whether it's allowed or not, but my understanding is that he can't fire her.
Well, there's what's in between Donald Trump's ears, right? As you know, and then there's which is whatever he thinks, and then there's the law, and the law says she can only be removed for cause.
Yeah,
The play he tried to make was to say because she lied on these two mortgage applications in a year when she was moving between residences and said that both of these properties that she was applying for mortgages on were her primary residence, that she therefore contradicted herself, she lied, and therefore he now has just cause to remove her. Well,
yeah,
that's not how it works.
no,
That is not at all how the law works. The law is on her side insofar as we run a system under the rule of law called you are innocent until you are proven guilty.
exactly.
There's been absolutely nothing but him, and it was Bill Pulte who pulled out of his ass almost overnight these mortgage applications on Lisa Cook, like as if they were fishing for dirt on her. And that woman, in that year, that was 2022. So they went back several years to find this. And this is a thing, by the way, that happens all the time where people put that down. And the reason they do is either because they don't know what their final job configuration is going to look like, and so they don't know whether they're going to live in state A or state B. So if you don't put that down, the bank will gladly charge you another 1 to 1.5 percentage points on your mortgage. That's the financial motivation for saying, "Hey, these are primary residences, right?" And
Right.
so you get your rate down. And when that happened with her, she hadn't. There was still movement possible going on in what she might be doing in that year. So she said in her defense that y'all are full of shit for pulling this out because it's nothing more than at this moment a checkbox on a form. And what has to happen is the burden is on the government to prove that she had intent to defraud, which is a much higher bar than even if she had no plans on paper to move. That means she was deliberately trying to deceive. And at that point, it becomes a like class 3 or 4 or 9, I don't know what, a very low level felony, but for doing that. And none of the proceedings have occurred to even begin to address whether or not that's happened and that any of that is true. So Trump, as far as I would not, if I was in her position, I would super glue my nameplate onto the door of my office,
That's
and
just
below that a big fuck you, in
right.
large letters, excuse my language, to anybody that comes along and tries to peel it off. And I'm just going to sit here and do my job because I'm a Federal Reserve. I'm a presidentially appointed and approved economics PhD professor at Michigan Tech who was appointed by Biden, and I have a decade long term, as I understand
Mhm.
it. I believe it's decade, and y'all can go jump off a cliff because she has, and it is the ultimate. As I wrote this morning, I'm pretty fired up about it because it's a DEI,
Yeah,
cloud haze bullshit thing, and she's black, right? And you
right.
line up, by
And
the way,
woman.
you line up the 7 intended board members of the Federal Reserve governors, and these are all high-powered people, including Miss Cook, who is in all in rights aside from this, she doesn't need this government job. She could walk into any university just about anywhere and get a full professorship if she so chose. But to have Trump go down that road is insanely insulting. And, it just galls me when I see him pull this shit. And, my wife and I were talking about it this morning. I said, perhaps for me, the biggest and most irritating thing about all of it is that as soon as Trump opened up his mouth and Bill Pulte had provided him that information, he relayed that in the most public of ways on his True Social platform,
Mhm.
relaying what he said, and put it in a letter and published the letter and loaded the gun of Caroline Levitt and said, go shoot at her, and that's character assassination. I hope that Lisa Cook sues the shit out of the administration for libel and slander, one of the two, and or both.
Right.
But in my opinion, that is horrible treatment of another human being. I don't give a damn what your skin color is. She's worked hard to be there. I mean, is she perfect? I don't know. I don't know the woman. I don't know her daily doings, but I do know that now she's got to carry around that shit with her for the rest of her life because
Mhm.
this man decides to do this thing. It goes back to you look at the career of Anita Hill after the Thomas Clarence hearings, and
Ugh.
sorry, Clarence Thomas hearing, and the shit that she had to go through because she had the bravery and the guts to stand up against that asshole. And
Right.
boy, do we wish we would have listened to her then more than we did now. It's gonna be no different for Lisa Cook, and that's just it's absolutely galling. And the fact that and by the way, in case you don't know, this does tangent to another thing. I won't go into it deep at all, but I'll just mention it in the haze of all the information that gets thrown at us. One of the things that did come down from the appellate court, I think it was from the Southern District of New York, was that the if you remember, Judge Engoron had in a case where there was no question whatsoever about actual liability of the Trump organization and the Trump family. It was a judge. It was ruled unnecessary to have a trial because the case that what the state provided was so cut and dry that it was like this is just guilt. Period. It was only a question of how much in damages was going to be awarded by to the state from the Trump's personal fund. That was the original thing. If you remember that, I think it was last year, and Engoron had put in 400 or no, put 350 million plus penalties, plus interest, plus everything else. And an appellate court ruled on that thing and struck the entire amount of the judgment down so that Trump has to pay zero. Now, he is still on basis of fact, that's called, he is still sanctioned to do business in the state of New York, to hold any kind of office or position in New York State, a number of other things. That all of the other punishments that come with this particular thing was there, but it I bring it up because it drives me nuts. The man is like fucking Houdini at getting out of trick boxes of penalties. And
Yeah.
and and this with this Lisa Cook situation, I hope she nails him on a number of ways, keeps her job, number one, and number two, uh, gets him and or the federal government on slander and libel charges because he keeps weaseling out of this shit. And the courts there's three systems of justice here. I won't go through all of them, but the one at the very top is for him. He gets that expedited path into the Supreme Court. He gets all kinds of other special treatment. And even when he's a fucking convicted felon, and he's sitting around. Every time I hear him talk about, oh, we're going to get the crime off the streets. It's like, yeah, 34 time convicted dude. Yeah, you're the model, right?
You do understand what the National Guard is doing right now in DC.
Well, they're carrying weapons. I know that. They're
They're
patrolling.
stopping and searching people's bags, right?
Oh, they are?
No,
I don't know. I mean,
they're literally cleaning up the trash.
no shit. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good use of our federal.
There's so much crime in DC that the National Guard is literally picking up that. Like, she told me that, and then she told me that, and then I texted my sister, and my sister was like, yeah, the whole, like, DC is rampant with crime is so much nothing burger that literally the National Guard is doing trash duty in the National Mall.
Wow, that is
That's such a waste of assets.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's just a waste. And who pays for that? Does that just come out of the Department of Defense?
Oh no, I mean that's you, me, and everyone else. That's
yeah.
Well, I think the question you've got is there's actually an interesting 2-part answer to your question, Lisa, which is the case of the District of Columbia is a little weird when it comes to how they fund the National Guard, because there's no overriding state, right? There's just the federal government. Yeah. So in that case, their annual allocation comes directly out of the Department of Defense's budget. So they're basically a line item that we're paying for out of that. It's also a buried line item, meaning they get X amount. They got in the big, beautiful bill, blah, they got X amount of dollars for this year, which went up before any of this was announced.
Oh, wow.
Went up by an amount to cover a lot of this expense. And then the second part is when they do activate in the states, the money can flow through the federal government, depending on how they get activated, to the states, and then to the soldiers and troops and the various, residents and all that people. I mean, residents, I said, or EIs, right. Whatever, as a place to stay, their housing costs, their food costs, etc.
Right. In California, they had trouble because they didn't have anything actually allocated to pay for them yet.
Not a thing.
And just sent them out with absolutely nothing written for it.
Right. And only Hegseth can, reallocate line items like that on the fly. And then he does still have to answer to the Armed Services Committee in the Senate for any of those changes on a monthly basis. So it's a weird situation all the way around. And the question's been brought up too, who's going to pay for Chicago if they try to roll in and get refused? Who's going to pay for Baltimore? Who's going to pay for Atlanta, where you live? And these places are saying, hell no, we don't, we are already paying our taxes for a police force here that is trying to do their job. This isn't free shit. Somebody's got to pay for it, And and when he rolls into New York, boy, I'll tell you what, people are going to be on fire about that, because the money involved alone is a huge expense. It's not a small thing. Even if there's just 1,700, I forget what the number is, but it's something like 5,000 to 10,000 minimum a month in the non-salary piece of it. And then you take people's actual compensation and put it on top of that. And it works out to each National Guard deployed is well over something like 210,000 or 220,000 per annum. So
wow,
here's the thing. I also want to point out, because Pat made this comment. About all the gold in the Oval Office, right?
Oh God, yes.
Okay. I have 4 unconfirmed sources that have indicated that it's all shit you can buy at Home Depot.
Really?
Yeah, it's all fake. It's all fake gold.
Oh my God! What do they do? Spray paint shit?
I thought you didn't do gold paint.
Nope. It's not real gold. All of the shit in the Oval Office is just gold painted junk.
And he's dumb
Wow.
enough to not tell the difference after
Yeah.
all of his blithering about how it
Well,
has to
no,
be real.
look to him, it looks like gold. That means that.
Oh my goodness. That's so sad.
Wow.
So
That's
sad.
yeah, but he knows, don't forget, Wendy and Lisa, that he knows more than anybody about
Oh, yes.
grass and about paving roads. He's got those two things just down pat. So thank God for a commander in chief who's got his priorities and his knowledge base all wrapped around the right things, you know. It's so
Yeah,
good.
pretty much.
Now, do you know about Cracker Barrel?
I know the controversy over their
They,
Oh, no.
they redid a logo again, I think, because I just saw a thing come through.
Another one?
So yesterday,
Yeah.
Trump told them late, came out and said, Cracker Barrel, you need to go back to the old logo.
Yeah, okay, I remember that tweet.
This morning, Cracker Barrel announced they're going to redesign the logo again.
Take 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, MSN says they now said they will go back to the original logo.
Oh, they're going to go back to the red. Yeah.
It,
Yeah,
it's
that's
gotta
20
be
minutes
cheaper.
ago.
It's
Yeah.
gotta be cheaper than hiring a New York ad agency to go figure out what the fuck to do with that bass. Besides, just slap the old.
His actual words were Cracker Barrel should go back to the old logo, admit a mistake based on customer response, and manage the company better than they ever did before.
Yeah,
Yes, Craig. He's literally saying, "Bring back the cracker."
right.
It's racist as fuck, man.
It is, yeah. And he's
Lord.
squeezing his butt cheeks together. You know, that's how you manage a company better than they ever did before. Plus, in that tweet, if I remember right, he said, "No, I know it. You know, you've gotten like $2 billion in free marketing and over all of this, and you should use it to your advantage." And blah blah blah. I mean, he's just all full of business advice. I would invite him to exit the White House and enter the private sector from whence he came so that he could provide that advice to all of the willing people who are sure would pay him top dollar. Oh my God.
Here's the other thing, and again, unconfirmed sources. When I confirm a source about this, you best believe I'm going to publish a story about it. Is that apparently, along with the business plan to initiate the change of the logo, Cracker Barrel was getting ready to initiate the change to ban the country store from all of its locations. And here's why.
Oh, wow.
Why? That's a revenue moneymaker for those guys. I don't understand.
It actually isn't. They actually lose money keeping the country store open in the restaurant.
Wow.
I mean, it literally, like, the whole purpose of the country store aspect of that business is for lift so that more people will come. Yeah. No, they've been losing money on it historically for the last 6 or 7 years.
I had no idea that.
Yeah. And then with the economy going the way that it's going against the tariffs, they're paying more for the stock they put into those stores than they can sell it.
Yeah, all that shit is made in China. I know my dad and my aunt both. Oh my God, we get them into a Cracker Barrel. They pray for a long wait on a Sunday. We can only take them on holidays. So Easter, whatever, Father's Day, that kind of stuff. Boy, they just love to shuffle around inside of that crowded ass store while we all stand there with no seats to sit in. And yeah, it's a that does, I guess, make sense in the grand scheme. It's an interesting
I can see it not making much money because I know whenever I have gone to Cracker Barrel, I kind of just looked at all their stuff because it was so overpriced and everything.
It is, yeah.
It's like I'm not buying anything in this store.
Yeah, I remember one time it was funnier how because my wife is from another country, let's just say, and she can. So we walk in there and like one time we went, there's one down that's like central to everybody that in the Northeast Ohio area where we all meet. And we're there. And she said to my sister-in-law and a couple other of the folks in the party that we were with. If you need anything in here, just let me know. And they were kind of dragging her along, and she's like, she was using her phone to look up in real time on the other side of the Pacific how much that thing would cost if she were to bring it in, and under the de minimis exemption, she doesn't have to pay tariffs on it, which is gone now, by the way.
Yeah.
And under that exemption, how much it would cost with her connections to pay for it and UN. And it was like, deter, I mean, like literally maybe 5 to 10 cents on the dollar, so
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
markup was insane.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely insane. Have you guys seen about the veteran getting arrested
Yeah,
No,
that,
in DC?
yeah. So here's the thing. Trump signed an
They-
executive order
Yep.
to make burning the flag an immediate,
Illegal.
no questions asked. You've committed a crime. You're going to be arrested, and you're not going to get due process for doing it. And so here's the thing. I want to be very clear about this. Hi. Um, does he understand how Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts work?
well,
Because when you're a scout, you burn a flag to retire it.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
actually part of
The
flag code.
executive order does not protect that process.
wow. Well, the Scouts now, I mean, yeah, that's okay.
But it's going that's going to turn into a First Amendment issue. And
It should.
Aubrey over here has repeatedly said, like, that goes up to SCOTUS, they'll side with Trump. And I'm like, I don't know. When you talk about a First, Second, or a Third Amendment issue,
That's
I'm
pretty
gonna,
tough.
yeah, I don't think they want to touch it.
There's already a really high powered ruling out there about the freedom of speech protecting
Mhm.
the right to burn a flag has been already tested legally in this country to the point where they would be basically, it would be like, well, we're just going to throw away all the precedent that we've ever had
Mhm.
since the beginning of time and just start all over. And maybe that's what we need. Shit.
Right.
Thomas Jefferson, and it was an interesting thing. I was digesting some history of his, and one of the things that he picked up while he was in France right before we uh, signed the Constitution into existence was that, he basically said that the observations in France were that in every 21-year cycle, that was the agreed upon, generally agreed upon definition of a generation, right? So one generation equals 22 years. And so his thing that they were mulling over while he was the ambassador in France was, in that 22-year cycle, what do you do? Because the other view of it is that the the law of the land is right now. In other words, whatever the circumstances are right now, and you put the two of those together, the very short quick thing is that laws basically would dissolve in 22 years and have to start over again every 22 years. And of course, that's not sustainable for a complex legal system. You can't really do it. But it was funny for a period of time here in America when Jefferson came back, he told a lot of people about it. He had a lot of people with him that also knew the same thing. They came back and told a lot of people. So it was in the national conversation that, we ought to just throw all this shit out every 22 years and just start over and, rewrite the thing, pass the laws, make sure everybody that's alive right now agrees with it, and take that. There's a name for it. I can't remember what it is right now, but I got a kick out of that. I mean, it was never a seriously considered thing, but in France they were actually seriously. It's for the French, you never know what they're going to do, right? It's what the fuck. And they were seriously thinking about it, so I got a kick out of that.
How do they defend an originalist reading of the Constitution when it was made to be amended? I don't get
it
that.
it doesn't make there
I
is
mean, here's the thing, they can't.
Okay, because it's
They-
like
they-
their
they-
whole focus is it has to be like it was when it was written in the late 1700s. It's like, no, I don't think they really intended that.
no, and that there's so many, Lisa. You hit on such a huge topic that I is one near and dear to my heart, but I won't talk everybody into bored tears. But it is really a thing where if you look at the framers, right, you had really two lines of thought going on there. One was, look, we don't want to end up back in a monarchy. That was
Correct.
one of the big concerns of a lot of the Federalists, and they call them Hamiltonians and Jeffersons as two groups, right? You might remember some of this stuff. If you do, I'm not talking down to you. I'm just saying,
Okay.
FYI,
Right.
to refresh your memory, right? But
Right.
so that was part one, and then so let's not drop our asses back into a monarchy such situation. And then part two with this constitution, let's make sure that there's continuous relevance to it, right? So that it doesn't age out. And and then, sorry, there is a part third that's attached to the second, which is always make sure there are checks and balances,
Yes.
on the camera. And that was Madison's big thing. Hamilton was all about the make sure it's amendable and make sure we can do things with it. And there were a lot of signers in the thing, but the authors and all that were the anti-monarchy type thing. But that all came to a head by the time Washington was done being president of the United States. And Adams moved in. That whole conflict came to a peak right before Jefferson took office. And man, I would not want to have lived in this country in 1801 because the media was there. There were no independent journalism at all. Every fucking newspaper out there was absolutely opinionated one way or the other towards
No,
one person's angle.
no, they weren't just opinionated.
They were.
They literally, they literally were. We only care about this party and fuck
That's
the
it.
other party.
Yeah,
Right.
they dialed it up so
Yeah.
high that the knob broke. I
Yeah,
mean, and there was no objective point of view to go to. So you had to really wade through a lot of things in order to get some sort of sense of what was true and what wasn't, especially when simultaneously we were building the capital city. That was also another chaotic moment in the history of the country. But man, yeah, we hadn't hit the ground we hadn't been on the ground 11 years when shit blew up basically about the monarchists, the people who wanted to say fuck this and let's go back to being a monarchy, and the people who said no, let's give this a fair shake before we just go, because this at the time they thought 11 years was too long of a time for this experiment. That was we should have results now.
Oh,
And
wow.
everything should be working now. And it's like, wow, compared to how we think today, yeah. So, it's pretty funny. I find it fascinating because it just when you drop your head into it and you picture living in that time, it's
Right.
is a lot. They consider themselves to be at the cusp of modernity or whatever you call it, however you say
Right.
it. And
Well,
like
in a
we
way
do.
they were. They broke away from monarchy when everybody was ruled by
Yeah,
monarchs.
that's right.
It was
And
the cutting edge of the time.
it was, and it was risky cutting edge. I mean, it was, Jefferson, when he wrote I don't know if you know this part for everybody, but he wrote the many drafts of the Declaration of Independence, and when he did, he knew that he was locked in a very tiny quarters to do this with a very small desk, and he's a relatively tall man, very fit, generally, trim, whatever, good genetics and lots of exercise. And yet he's in this tiny cramped thing in a hot room in the middle of the summer writing all this document that the minute people saw it, he was going to be marked as a somebody that the British were going to target to kill, shoot on sight, dead, done, and he had to really watch his steps. And I think about it when I'm typing my Substack some days and I say these things about, ass backward references to Stephen Miller. It's like, am I going to come to have to pay for this someday because, the guy can't take a fucking joke, or he doesn't appreciate my satire? Or is Trey and the other dudes on South Park, are they going to be, what is that? I'm trying to think of the Handmaid's Tale, the city, Gilead. Are they got Gilead with the
Gilead.
wall, hang their asses off the bloody wall? I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for Trump to say, we're going to build a yet new wall in Washington, D.C., and we're going to hang traitors that I don't like right there. So it's like, yeah, don't put me
Exactly.
on that. So,
Right. Right. Um, okay. Well, what's going on in queer news today? Anything
Oh
exciting?
gosh. Yeah, are we to that point of the show? Yeah, I got a bunch.
yeah,
Okay.
I got
I
a
can,
bunch.
I
Yeah,
can let slide off so you can
yeah,
bring
yeah,
somebody else in.
we got a Rick, as always.
Yes, as
Everybody
always.
register to Adverse in Action, please.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm subscribed.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and it's free. You don't have to. I'm not hawking a thing with paywall content or anything like that. So I appreciate any patronage, but definitely not mandatory. So I'm gonna slide off, and I'll let you guys go. Take care.
Okay.
There we go.
Here we go.
Okay, so there we go. So now, who are we gonna find it? Wait, let's get a Brandon. Let's get a Brandon, because I want Brandon. Um. Oh, come on, Brandon. Your video is like lagging super horrible.
Yeah, we all want Brandon.
Yeah,
I wonder if
everybody
he's
wants
playing with
Brandon.
Peaches again. Take a
Oh
look.
shit!
She just jinxed me.
All right,
You
Brandon,
owe
I'm
me
gonna
a
try it
Coke.
again because I know you're not dodging me.
So when my son's coming over, sometimes I have him pick up my groceries for me on the way.
Right.
The other day, I had him ask him for apples to have with peanut butter, and he bought me a bag of uh, nectarines. It's like, how could you not tell those were nectarines? Like, I actually call him up and goes, "Where are the apples?" And he goes, "They're on the counter." I'm like, "No, those are nectarines. Where are the apples?" He didn't know the difference between a nectarine and an apple.
I feel like that. Are you trying to make a gay euphemism?
No, I'm not really. It's my second time people didn't recognize produce though. And this one was my own child.
Um. So, I actually wanted to talk about a social thing. I actually have a social thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And so either Brandon or Elaine are gonna have to provide input
Oh,
for
okay.
that. Yeah, Brandon or Elaine.
Where's the socialness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I thought
where?
the mangoes were peaches yesterday. I like mangoes.
Yeah. Okay. Brandon, I like set up and come back because I wanted to. There's a couple of news items, but then I wanted to talk about today's story item. Which,
Mhm.
by the way, the queer. Did you read the Queer Space article?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
And
it was. That was. If you're an older queer person, then okay, here we go. All right, Brandon. Um. Oh.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Oh,
Shit. Um.
I don't know what happened. I clicked on the thing and it was just all white. I couldn't see anything. I could see the chat still, but I don't know.
All right. So, did you hear about crumble cookies?
no.
Oh no.
Oh. So, um, I thought this was actually kind of cool. So, you've heard of the crumble cookie store, right?
Yeah.
So
I
here in Atlanta, it's Insomnia Cookies is the cookie.
right. That's what we have here.
Oh
Right.
well,
Insomnia.
we have both here because
God, you have both?
there's a crumble in Kansas City area, Independence Summit, somewhere up there, and then but I've seen an Insomnia not too
There's an
far.
insomnia in
Yeah.
town here. Of course, it's
So
to do with college, so you're gonna have
here's what
stuff
happened.
like that.
Mm.
So, in an attempt to embarrass the founder of crumble. A bunch of right wingers went on to TikTok. His name is Sawyer, by the way. Went on to TikTok and tried to embarrassingly out him as gay.
Out the owner?
Yes, the owner of Crumble is gay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we're trying to, in a weaponized like fashion, out him. And so he went on the TikTok and he was like, over the past little while, there have been people online trying to define me, twist things, and share conversations in ways that feel harmful. Instead of letting others write my story, I'm just going to tell you. The truth is, over the past few years, I've come to understand and accept that I'm gay.
Okay.
And by the way, fuck you. And here's what he says. He says, I grew up with values and beliefs that I still deeply love and respect, which made this journey more complicated. But I remain grateful for my foundation, even as I've worked to embrace the truth about myself. So that's the language around. I was raised as a conservative Christian, and I respect those views.
Right.
But fuck it, I'm gay.
So who was trying to?
that?
And so, yeah, there were a bunch of like reptoid, fuckwad people who were trying to like out him and damage the company by saying he was touting himself as a Christian, but he's not really
Oh,
because he's gay and blah 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 or whatever. Look, here's the thing: if a person's not committing any criminal activity, I don't give a shit what anyone is. He
Right.
could have come out and said he is a puppy and into pup play.
Oh no, he's a furry. Oh no.
Yeah, or he's a furry. I don't give a shit. They make good cookies.
so was it just a conservative group of citizens or
Yeah,
something?
the reptoid spammy
Yeah.
account. So did you read today's story, Brandon?
No, I'm kind of sick or something. I've got something going on. I've been in bed for a while. Just, I don't know. I think it's all the traveling and the lack of sleep and everything. Probably it just got to me.
Well, I can understand that. So today's queer space story. Yeah, Pam,
That's
I
one of my
completely
favorite
agree with you,
songs.
by the way. Pam, if you would come in and talk as a co-host on the live, I'm sure Lisa would allow you to come in here. Pam, I think would be a fun person to talk to. If you're going to agree to do that, make sure you have the Substack app on your phone so I can actually invite you into the live. But anyway, so here's the thing. So the story is about living in the closet while you're at work.
Oh, well, that's appropriate, isn't it?
Right. And so, and Bubba is oh crap. I'm just going to ask if you could get me like 2 Diet Cokes. Yeah, so, and here's the thing. I've known a large number of people, because I'm 53, who have gone through that. Having to, like, I had a friend at IBM who was a manager and he was gay. And I was the only one that worked on that team that knew that he was gay. And the reason that I knew that he was gay was I saw him at Mary's one night, which is like, Mary's is like the big gay bar in Atlanta. And he knows I saw him. And so, he was like, he like pulled me to the side. He's like, you can't say anything. I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. Or whatever. But, and so in the story, that's the virtue I'm trying to extol to people, is that it's not about hiding who you are. It's about controlling who gets to see what part of you.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, because I had that situation at work. I wasn't exactly out, but I wasn't closeted either. I just didn't talk about that with my coworkers and boss. It just wasn't. I didn't really care to bring them into that part of my life, and I did eventually kind of come out, I guess, because when my boyfriend died, I wanted to take off and go to the funeral and everything, and I told my boss who he was to me, and it didn't change anything really, but
You didn't get
people
you didn't get a negative reaction for that.
no, maybe a little bit. I don't know if surprise is the right word, but kind of, oh, you're admitting this or whatever, Yeah, I know.
You're finally telling us.
Okay, I want to be very clear about this, Brandon. Like, if I had not known that you were gay, and then you had told me that you were gay, I literally would look at you and go, "Oh, okay." Finally,
Duh, maybe, or
You finally figured it out?
finally? Oh, okay. Because it's funny that you say that. There's somebody, there's a reader on the publication who, like, I had to give them the questions or whatever, and I got like 5 questions down the list, and that person, was like, Wendy, you can just stop asking me questions. I know what the fuck you're trying to tell me. Because no one can be told what the Matrix is. They just have to see it for themselves. Um, but yeah, so from my perspective, John, who was one of my managers at IBM, he was the kind of guy where, like, when people would start talking about the weekend with their wife and kids, he would talk about his weekend plans, like, oh, I cooked out or whatever. And when people would talk about, like he dated a bunch, he actually went out with a guy that I knew, and so, um, like, we would be sitting around the water cooler, and my friend Seth or whatever would be like, "Oh, I'm dating a hot girl, and are you dating any a hot chick or whatever?" And John would be like, "Well, I'm seeing somebody,
yeah,
or I'm spending time with somebody special," but he would never
yeah,
cross that language, and so, um, but here's the thing. When you do that day in and day out, day in and day out, over and over and over and over again, that's the thing that requires spaces like the bar in those stories, because you're ambiguously masking. You actually have to, you know, be yourself somewhere.
I know it seems obvious, but I can tone it down,
But see, that's the thing. I wouldn't want you to.
No,
No, I would not.
no, but but I did at work, and the, I worked at a place in a very small community, rural, conservative, all that. And if they don't, I mean, you would think that they would see stuff on TV and stuff like that. But um, if you're not around anybody in the queer community, you don't recognize some things. You're like, oh, that's just the way he is, or whatever. Sometimes that happens, And one of my coworkers asked me about something about a girlfriend or whatever, and I said girlfriend. It's like, so that at that point I kind of came out. I was just I couldn't help myself there. I was like, what are you talking? Are you for real?
So that was Aubrey and I knew each other before we transitioned or whatever. And so we had a
Yeah, I remember you
work
saying
friend.
that.
Yeah, my work friend Zach. That was him. Like, we had a coworker named Dave, and like, if Dave wasn't gay, there's no gay people.
Yeah.
Went on vacation one week, and we were all sitting around at work one day, and Zach was like, "Where's Dave?" And I looked at him and I said, Dave's in Florida. He's probably got his legs wrapped around some guy's waist right now." And Zach looked at us and was like, "You shouldn't say that about somebody if you don't know." And I'm like, um, are we talking about the same person? And I remember Kira was like, um, Zach, or do you, or whatever. And like, Dave's gay, and you shouldn't say that if you don't know if that's true or not. And he got all angry about it or whatever. And so when Dave got back, she and I cornered Dave, and we're like, "Hey, you need to talk to Zach because he doesn't think you're gay." And Dave was like, "Oh my god, am I not good enough? Am I? Am I not? Oh, I'm very gay. Okay, I'm gonna fix it." He walks over there and talks to him and snaps his fingers around and shit. Snaps his fingers around and shit.
Oh my
And
god.
then Zach walks over to Kara and I, and Zach is like, "Oh my god, he's gay." And I'm like, "I told you." What?
But yeah, I'm saying there are some people like that just don't they don't want to see, or they are in some kind of denial, or they're sheltered or whatever. But I think what area was that?
Oh,
I mean,
like
was it?
Alpharetta, Georgia.
Mm.
So I mean, not like a blissfully unaware, like like she and I were security engineers. I I felt like most info security engineers were pretty fairly aware people. Um, you know, I I yeah, I'm shameful to admit this. The Department of Energy was one of my consulting customers for a time, and I was queer at the time, and I was just starting my trans journey, and um, like I went, I would travel. And so for 2 days, I was at the Department of Energy office, and I remember the first time I had my nails done up, like, and I had tips on, and I had done my makeup or whatever, and I walked into that office, and my company was blissfully aware of my orientation, and they were blissfully aware that I was going through transgender, uh, you know, gender transition, and so they didn't give a shit. And so I walked into that office, sat down, and I'm just typing away, and like all of the people in that room were like, and so while they were my customer, I mean, I went through 4 months. I had to transition them to another consultant because um, for 4 months I had to hear being called a fag and being called a sissy and being called a tranny and all those slurs because they were just, like I had every couple of days. I didn't realize that you were one of them faggots. And I was like, I mean, I feel like it should have been kind of obvious even before I had quarter-inch tips on my fingers. You were not aware. And he was like, "No, I wasn't aware at all that you're one of them faggots." And so, yeah. So yes, there are some people that it could just stare them in the face and
Yeah,
they just
yeah.
would not want to be aware of it.
I've seen it.
I wonder
Um,
about a few people from my past. I really do.
what?
Oh, I remember. I wonder about a few people from my past, whether or not they were actually possibly lesbians.
I mean, look,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things you can ask.
Well, this is when I was growing up as a kid. Back then, people didn't talk about it too much,
No, but there's a couple of things you can ask. Like,
especially middle of
do you play
nowhere.
like? Here's the thing. I hate to use these stereotypes, but do you play? Are you a female and do you play golf?
We didn't have golf to play.
You know, are you a
Middle of
female
nowhere.
and are you walking around with a pixie cut? You know,
Are you a
are you a
female? Do you ride a
female? And do you
motorcycle?
I like. I'm sorry. Are you a female and do you listen to the Indigo Girls? Okay, that means
Does that mean my sister knew before I did?
I mean.
Big Indigo Girls fan.
There's the art of strategic visibility, choosing the moments to be seen and not seen.
Right.
You know, and so, I don't think people recognize necessarily how hard that is, which that goes back to, and I know Brandon's I'm gonna let you talk about this when I say that the hanky code. You should explain the hanky code to people, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still used today anywhere, but I'm kind of motivated to go buy some. But yeah, you put a certain color of handkerchief in your back pocket, and that kind of advertises what you are into, what your preferences are, sexual preferences. And depending on the right or left pocket, whether you're prefer a dominant or a submissive role in that sexual practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how many how many different colors there were. And like, there's not just purple, there's lavender, and there's light blue and dark blue and all these things. I'm like, how can anybody keep all this straight? I'd have to have a code written down and go around looking at Walmart like, okay, let's see. That's on the right side, all right. And is that all right? Is that teal or light blue?
No, Brandon, you just got to make sure you pierce the right or left ear correctly.
Right.
Which that was bullshit, right?
Oh yeah.
No, right. That was all like straight fear mongering. Was the earring thing?
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious. But our lesbians had it. It was the keychain. Which side of the chain did the keychain sit on?
Okay.
If the keychain was on the right hip, that meant that you were a butch, and if the keychain was on the left hip, that meant that you were a femme. And so, um, I have great lesbian stories. I mean, I have some really fucking cool lesbian stories. And somebody asked in the chat to mention my Amy Ray story. I have a few of those. I've run into her publicly a couple of times. She's one of the Indigo Girls, but Lisa, have I told you my Tallulah? I've told you my Tallulah story, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I live in Atlanta, and I'm south of the city of Decatur, like downtown Decatur. I want to be very clear that the city of Decatur in Atlanta is like the sapphic lesbian epicenter of the city of Atlanta, and there's a couple of reasons why. One, there's a college in the city limits called Agnes Scott, which is an all-girls school. Now, here's the deal. If you're a girl and you go to Agnes Scott, you run an 85% chance that you are going to come out of that school at the very least bi, if not completely gay. But when I worked at IBM, we had a data center in the city of Decatur. And so I was down there with my manager one day, and we pulled into a gas station, the gas station on the corner of Juniper and Commerce Boulevard, which is right there in downtown Decatur. And so got out, went to gas my car, and I'm gassing my car up, and my manager is standing out there in front of my car. And at that moment, a canary yellow, brand new Lamborghini Diablo pulls up. And angel doors, so the angel doors flip up. One of the angel doors flips up, and it's this, like, I shit you not, like 5'1", like 110 pounds wet female, blonde, super feminine female or whatever. And she's gassing the car. My manager looks at her and very toxically says, "Gosh, little girl, don't you think that car is a little too much for you?" And at that moment, the other angel door on the passenger side of the car pops up, and it's Amy Ray, and she looks at my manager and says, "No, and fuck off," and then shuts the door. And so, but then too, like, one day, Aubrey and I were over at Moho Pizza in Oakhurst, and we're sitting there eating pizza, and Amy walks in with her kids, and I'm like eating, and Kira's like, "Hey, hey, hey, I think that's Amy Ray." And I was like, "What?" I turn around and look, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that is her." And so I was like, "Well, shit." And she'd been talking to the barkeep at Moho, which is a pizza joint. And so I walked up to the barkeep, and I was like, "Hey, I'm not going to be like toxic or anything, but is that Amy Ray?" She's like, "Oh, yeah. She comes in here every Thursday or every other Thursday." And I'm like, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, because the local school, um, one of her kids goes to goes to the local school, and they do chess nights in the Moho Pizza. And when they do chess night, both Sailors and Ray come in here and participate in the kids playing chess with each other or whatever." And I was like, "Holy shit." And she was like, "Dad, if you get lucky, sometimes one of them brings a guitar, and then they get up on the stage. They have like a little stage or whatever. And they get up on the stage and they sing songs while the kids are playing chess or whatever." And I was like, "That's fucking cool."
Yeah, that's awesome.
And she says, "Yeah, go around the corner. There's a bar around the corner called Steinbeck's." And I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, on Wednesday nights, you'll find her drinking or whatever." And I was like, I love the area of Atlanta I live in. Holy shit. Um, but so yeah, I mean, I mean, it's all, you know, how lucky, where your geographical location is and why. But I
Yeah.
asked a question, Brandon, about the workplace thing because I wrote about this, and I don't think I really realized how complicated it is. So did you or do had you found it difficult to maintain aspects of your integrity while being selectively visible at the same time?
Selectively visible. Well, I no, I at least in the last place I worked that was outside of my house.
Right.
I felt like it didn't. The fact that I was gay didn't have anything. Didn't have any negative impact on me. I didn't feel like, because we did have a few customers that would come in that were gay, and they didn't seem to be treated any differently as far as I could see. And again, I didn't like, I toned it down, and I didn't,
Right.
tell people that I was, gay and whatnot. But so I didn't feel like I had an issue with it there. I think there would have, in other places I've been, I think it would have been an issue, especially because that would have been like farther back in time and things weren't quite as accepted. So I feel like that would have maybe been an issue.
Right. Because from my personal perspective as a queer person, long before I was a trans person, authenticity was a real challenge. I mean, I hate to say this, but we talked about this earlier during the trauma life, but from an authenticity perspective, there are sometimes I get up in the morning and I go in the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I don't see Wendy, I see Bill.
Yeah.
And I hate him. I viscerally hate Bill. I do. I don't like him. I don't like who he was. And I don't like to see that. And so when you are trying to live authentically, if you have to hide that or you have to be selectively visible to people in that arena,
Right.
For me that would be, well, I didn't always have to, but that was the thing. I mean, I was, um, you know, I was not as feminine leaning as a queer person that I am as a trans person, and so, I mean, it wasn't obvious, but even being selectively visible then, I would always go home and I feel guilty about
I understand that part. Yeah. I mean, as far as work goes, I didn't feel quite as guilty because I didn't really like my boss and coworkers very much. So I didn't care if if I was authentic around them. But there were times in public. There was one time I was in I might have told this story on here before, but I was in a fender bender and we pulled over and the guy, he was just kind of chit chatting. I think he was kind of nervous because it was his fault. But anyway, he said something about a wife and kids or something like that, and he said, do you have a wife and kids?" And at that, I could have said, "No, I'm gay," although well, the kid part would, I could have kids, I guess, but
it. Right.
anyway, you know what I mean? Like I just said no, and later I was a little I felt a little guilty that I didn't say that I was gay. Because I was, the reason for me saying just no, that I didn't say that I was gay, it was because I was kind of afraid. I didn't know this guy, he was in the military, and I was like, oh, very masculine built guy, and I just thought in that split second that I'm not going to tell him that. But I did feel a little guilty that I wasn't. It could have been an opportunity for me to be proud of myself and who I am, and I know he was a stranger and doesn't deserve to know or need to know or anything, but I still felt something like I could have used that opportunity, and you know what I mean. I can't explain the guilt part because,
Guilt
like I said,
guilt is extremely powerful.
yeah,
As a person who would go into a gay bar, who spent years going into a gay bar, you'd be in there and you'd see like the first timer walk in, and that's That's like the guy that was sitting out in the car for 2 hours to talk himself into going into the bar,
Yeah, yeah,
and then you walk up to him and you're like, like I was a regular at Mary's, so like I knew all the people that were in there. And you'd walk up to a guy like that, like, "Hey, you look new. Are you?" Well, you'd have to ask them, "Do you realize where you are?"
yeah,
Because I mean, like, here's the thing: like, there were a handful of times there were guys that walked into Mary's that had no idea where they were just looking to get a beer or whatever. It was like,
right.
yeah, you're probably gonna. I don't cross the street. You don't want to. You don't want to be in here, but the real, like, it's not funny, but it's like challenging, is that you'd get the first timer, and the first timer, well,
Hey.
I'm not gay.
Hey, Monty.
Well, yeah, about that, and so you would have to tell them, like, you're in a safe space.
Yeah,
If you're bi or gay, you can just say that in here, and nobody's going to judge you. But still, I mean, that judgment felt real to them and visceral to them, and so real and so visceral to them that, I mean, even in a secure setting, they weren't
yeah,
they weren't comfortable enough to be visible, and so, um, it was painful to watch that, really, um, because it was like, I mean, you came in here, um, uh, Cheryl, if get him to come in here. Yeah, Cheryl, get your son to come in here. Um, oh gosh, Lynette, Brandon, you should read that.
yeah. I'm seeing it. So I'm so sorry you felt guilty, but I don't think you needed to. Maybe it was just a feeling to remind you that you know who you are. Yeah, it's I don't know. I can't help what I felt in that moment. It was um most of the time, when you're caught in an impromptu moment like that, there's the fight or flight kind of thing, and it's just like it's like, no, no, I'm straight. I didn't say I was straight, but I was just like, I didn't want to go into detail or anything. It's just because it was out of fear.
Out of your comfort
Like,
zone.
yeah,
Yeah. I understand that.
and normally I was okay with strangers knowing that I was gay in some circumstances. But in that one, for some reason, I just felt like that wasn't the right time to say anything.
No, because that's your choice.
Yeah,
I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, as open as I am about um, my gender and my sexuality, um, I'm still very selective about who I tell whether I'm trans or not. I mean, I was in a UPS store one day and I was in a really hot looking black dress and fishnet hose and black, really fucking sexy ass black boots, and the woman behind me was like, "You dress like a slut." And rather than tell her I was trans, I turned around and I said, "And your point, guilty on all charges," or whatever. But that's because I really just don't. At my age now, I just don't care. But it's like you get to a point where it's like I don't owe, and you don't either. Even you don't
Mhm.
owe
right,
anybody. You don't owe anybody to tell them that.
No.
right. It was just I knew that it was just something late in it. it happened later. And I was like, I shouldn't be afraid to just say it, but
Right.
A whole different conversation going on in there. I couldn't
yeah,
I could not stand on heels that tall. I would fall over. I mean, my goodness.
And I'm already 6'6", so what does that tell you? Edward, it's painful, but you know what? I look really good when I do that. I look really fucking good when I do that.
I will definitely sacrifice comfort for to look good.
Me too, Brandon. Every time. All of my stuff is flats, especially since my knees got bad. It's something about the angle makes your knees hurt worse. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because you're decreasing the surface area of where you're forcing balance to happen. So,
It just makes my knees hurt like crazy.
I mean, everybody can
at all.
look. Everybody can wear gothy platforms. Those are, chonker, single length, 4-inch high platforms.
Yeah,
I know
I
a
know
bunch
what
of
you're
guys
talking
that do
about.
it. They look good, but no, it's not my thing. But yeah, Eileen's right. Pounds per square inch. Yeah, having to support pounds per square inch in that space versus that space is it's a different story.
They say that the point of a heel has more pounds per square inch than an elephant's foot in stilettos.
Yeah.
My French teacher in high school was actually also this French and Spanish teacher when my stepmother went. And back then, when the boys would act up, she wore really, really high stiletto heels, and she'd stomp in the middle of their foot with her heel.
Oh,
And that's how she controlled them.
Whoo, saucy.
She was all of 5 feet tall. She was a short little lady. And my stepmother said that the basketball players would try to, get in her, and she'd be like stomp, and they straightened right up.
Look, when I was in college, we did intramural sports at Tech, and to be crazy and silly for our intramural basketball team, I had a friend pick up extra size Easy Spirits,
Mm.
Easy Spirit 2-inch heels, and all 8 of us for that game wore Easy Spirit heels to play basketball in them, and sign that I am a trans woman. I actually never fell down and didn't buckle my ankles in that game. Maybe I should have realized at that point that, Wendy, you're probably trans.
Right.
Maybe I should have realized that at that time, but I didn't. I was blissfully unaware to my own state back then. I was still living in denial, which is why you shouldn't read the fucking biography. Don't, if Krager's drops that link, don't follow it, don't read it. Just don't. So, well, that's what I had for tonight. So,
Okay.
I will give you guys a sneak peek for tomorrow. To go over the stuff that I have for tomorrow. So I have a deeper dive into another branch of the Rockbridge group. And then the Christian deconstruction article tomorrow is the why the Trinity is bullshit,
Okay.
and why people who say in nomine Pater et Filii Spiritus Sancti is biblical and it isn't. And then I already have the safety of a queer space articles, which by the way I have to ask. So the people that read the queer space articles,
Mhm.
do you click on the songs and listen to the songs while you're reading, or do you listen to the songs that I drop in those articles?
Well, it depends, really. It really does. Like, I didn't need to click on the ones you shared today. especially the Turning Away. That's a very favorite song of mine. So,
Oh,
I'm humming it as I read.
I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
I can't listen to music while I'm reading or writing anything. It's too distracting for me.
really?
I
Yeah,
can
I know a
understand
lot
it.
of
I can't
people.
write with I can do classical music to create, but anything with words, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people can. I have a hard time with that. I have listened. I think I've listened to one of them like before or after, or I can do a little bit, but it takes me a lot longer to read it if I'm listening at the same time. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, Lynette, so in the Queer Space articles, I drop YouTube links to the songs that are mentioned in those stories. So like tomorrow's is a Fleetwood Mac song and a Who song. And so I'll just say this: progressive rock music is like required listening in my house. So like when Gizmo, who is my middle child, um, was 4, like she was singing CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival songs, and Floyd, and like all the progressive rock band songs would come on the radio, and then she'd be in the back seat in her car seat singing away, and those were like really visceral memories. But I've seen Pink Floyd play 9 times, I think, 8 or 9 times. I've been to 8 or 9 live Floyd shows, and so yeah, I'm admittedly a huge Gilmore fan, and so one of the things that happens in this house, like when I'm writing, I I'll play music. I guarantee you, half of the shit that I write is being written to Floyd's "Momentary Lapse of Reason" album, and so oh, Gwendolyn, see now, I've only seen the Dead like 3 times, and the reason for that was all 3 times I was so fucking high that I swore I'd never go again. And actually, the last Dead show I went, which was, by the way, it was like one of the last set of shows that Jerry Garcia played in before he died. Um, Nixon, I love the Metal album, but you know, a lot of people think older Floyd isn't approachable. I don't know why people say that, but anyway. Lynette, if you're not a subscriber to the publication, subscribe to the pub. I'll give you a 30-day paid subscription if you subscribe today. Craigers, please give Lynette the link to the pub. But anyway, so Lisa, are you gonna do porch talk tonight?
Yep. 8:30.
Okay. Well, we have an off
the chickens go to bed.
we have an off night with gaming with the kids on
Oh, okay.
Tuesdays. So I'll be around for that. Brandon, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I need to work on some writing because I got behind, going on my trip.
Right. Oh, we had Tessa come back. Yeah, I believe Tessa is Tessa and Linda. Tessa is a pink and light blue and white flag person.
Okay.
Are they a subscriber? No, Tessa Grace is not a subscriber yet. So maybe eventually. I want more trans people and queer people to subscribe. I promise more really, really kick-ass queer content.
I used to sing Elvis to my son at bedtime.
Elvis.
I'd sing "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You."
Wow.
Bedtime.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I'll make you laugh. My favorite Elvis song I mean, his crooner stuff, I can listen to it, but his like Vegas Fat Elvis cover of Sweet Caroline
Oh, okay.
is my favorite Elvis song ever.
Wow.
So you laugh about that because I was never a Neil Diamond fan,
I liked Neil Diamond.
and I didn't understand why people. Well, it was too jazzy, and I wasn't very jazzy at the time. So anyway, all right, well, cool. Well, we're way over the hour, so
Okay. Well, I'll be back around 8:30 Central Time, which is 9:30 your time,
yep.
7:30 Mountain, 6:30 Pacific.
I'm going to eat my Philly cheesesteak sandwich
Oh, yum.
for dinner. Yeah.
Jealous.
Cheese whiz. Cheese whiz.
Oh, so you're not a purist.
Um,
Do you have sauteed onions and green peppers on it at least? That's not even a Philly cheesesteak.
Lynette, I'm a transgender 53-year-old female who is fluent in Hebrew and Greek, and I'll let you guess why by the time you come on to the next live. There's a reason for that, and it's tied to my education, which is why I write Christian deconstruction articles on the publication. Okay. All right. Brandon, Lisa, thank you both.
Bye-bye.
Bye, dear. You're cute, by the way.
Bye.
I always want to tell Brandon he's cute because he really
Because
is.
he is.
He really is cute. I mean, if I weren't trans, maybe I would date Brandon. If I weren't trans, I'd date Brandon. Totally. Okay. I'll see you at 9:30, Lisa.
Okay, see you later.
Yep. Oh, well, good session tonight. We breached 100 people again, so we had 100 people come in. That's really great. So if you're new, please subscribe. Um, the paid subscriptions, you support the app, the publication. If you want to become a paid subscriber, ask Eileen or Elaine or one of the others what the benefit of being a paid sub is. You'd be shocked what that is. It's actually really very cool to become a paid subscriber, and not just because you benefit me and keep me going. Um, oh, Eileen, right. If you were a gay man, you'd date Brandon. I think that's hot. Um, with everyone else, thank you for coming. Please keep reading, keep spreading the news, keep sharing. I think it's important to share the content that we have to get it out into the spaces so that people can read it and see it and hear it and experience it so that we can all stay informed. If you're in a safe space, get in a safe space. Um, stay in a safe space. Get there, stay there. I can't do this without you guys. We can't do this without each other. Um, and and I love you all, and I want you to be good. So be good.